Well, this weekend, so many of you are going to spend time in the water, whether it's the lake or a pool. It is very important to stay safe. So July typically has the highest number of drowning deaths. Here's a look at some numbers. In 2023, 760 people died in drownings. That was in 2023 alone. In 2022, that number was higher, 790. Drowning is the leading cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 4. That prompted Local 4's senior medical producer, Sarah Mayberry, to write an article over on clickondetroit.com. She says that drownings can happen to even the most careful of families. Sarah is live in the Nook now, as you see the article she wrote right there. I wanted to ask you a couple things. First of all, I think what's kind of frustrating about this is that almost all drownings are preventable.
For the most part.
For the most part, right? And that's where it gets, challenging because we feel like it's a common sense thing. I think a lot of people have this false sense of security that they're strong swimmers and nothing bad's going to happen. But it does. And I don't want to beat people over the head with this hammer that, be safe. But I guess we have to because look at the numbers.
Well, and to be fair, I think Hollywood has done us a disservice when it comes to drowning because we have this image in our mind that it's this flailing and screaming and that you have this opportunity to be rescued.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I was a lifeguard and water safety instructor before I came to this field, and most drownings happen quietly and quickly. And so it's seconds.
Yeah.
It's a bad decision. It's not knowing the conditions of where you're swimming, or most often with kids, it's lack of supervision.
Sure. So let's start with the kids then. We consistently talk about having the alarms on your doors or making sure the gates are closed around the pools. But when you talk about how it can happen in seconds, it truly is seconds, right? I mean, you can turn your back for a moment and a child can drown.
Yeah, I'll share an experience from our own life. So we were at a neighbor's pool with my kids when they were younger, and there were 4 adults. We were all sitting there right by the pool, just right by the pool. And I'm watching my son, who was about 3, and he was in swim lessons since he was 4 months old.
Okay.
He could swim, and I'm watching him, and he's standing along, the edge of the pool that, they have a lip that goes around the pool, and he's on that, and he's playing with a toy. And I'm looking at him, and there's a toy, and it slips just out of his reach.
Yeah.
And he reaches for it. And he goes out into the pool, and I'm waiting. He goes down, and I'm waiting for him to bounce back up and swim back, and he doesn't. And I'm standing up, and I wasn't wearing a swimsuit. I'm starting to run around the pool to get,
right.
I realize I cannot go around the pool. So I go in, shoes and all,
Okay.
pull him back up. And he was fine, but the kids swimming in the pool with him never realized anything was wrong until I
really?
jumped in the pool. He never made a sound. He just went under. And what could have been tragic was just a scary incident.
Sure.
But in my head, I'm like, what if we hadn't been looking at the pool at that moment?
Right.
What if we had gone in to get the food? What if I'd been looking at my phone? It happened that fast.
So how did that change everything for you in the future? Were you terrified of water or were you just more cognizant of it?
Being a lifeguard, you develop a very healthy respect for water.
Yeah.
And we've done lots of stories, too, on drownings. And I think you see the common patterns. I mean, swim lessons are no substitute for supervision when it comes to kids. You just have to someone has to be assigned to watch them because kids will do things one day that they couldn't do before.
Yeah.
One day they can't open a gate, the next day they can.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've been to a couple of kids' birthday parties over the past couple of years, and the parents have hired lifeguards. And my initial thought years ago was, wow, that seems over the top. No. It isn't. It really is not.
Parties are one of the most dangerous situations because everyone thinks someone else is watching the kids.
Right.
And you get a lot of kids in a pool, the visibility in a pool goes to nothing because they're all jumping and splashing. And so every party should have someone who is only watching the kids.
Right.
Not fixing the food, not doing this or taking pictures.
Not making the margaritas.
Watching the kids. And when you talk about adults, there's going to be plenty of adults going in the lakes. Alcohol is the #1 factor in drownings. We're not good swimmers when we drink alcohol. We don't make good choices.
Right.
But also knowing the conditions,
So, okay, speaking of that, currents are unbelievable in the fact that most people don't know how strong they are and can pull even the most experienced swimmers away.
Yes. Currents in the Great Lakes are insane, and they are a huge factor in drownings. But even being out on a lake when the wind comes up, when you're trying to swim against the wind, it's hard.
Yes.
And that's where having that life jacket on is great.
It's one of those things, and we had a conversation earlier in this week about, yes, the life jackets aren't the cool thing to wear.
They are not cool.
But who cares at this point?
Yeah.
It's probably hard to get the teenagers to wear one, or even the adults, but that's going to save your life.
Yeah, and I will say, so we were at a lake in Missouri 2 weekends ago now, and my 13-year-old was like going out on the lake, and I had him take a life jacket.
Yeah.
I mean, he wore it because, you know what? It also made him more visible in this lake.
Speaking of visibility, there's been studies, and I think you wrote an article or part of one where the color of the swimsuit actually matters.
Huge difference in light blue, like pastel colors that people like for swimsuits.
Yeah.
You put that swimsuit on the bottom of a pool and see if you can see it.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
You want to look like a traffic cone. I mean, put your kids in like bright orange.
High vis.
Yeah, bright neon colors,
Yeah.
like things that really stand out. It makes a huge difference. We did a huge test at a pool a few summers ago. It was incredible, the difference it made.
All right, so there's actually a big Go For It event coming up that has to do all about this and water safety and drowning. It's going to be at U of M Dearborn. Kind of give us the basics of what people can learn.
So the Red Cross has created a course just for us that is a sampler of all sorts of first aid. So we're going to talk about water safety. They're going to talk about how to care for those cuts and scrapes properly, how to use an EpiPen, how to save someone who's choking. They're going to provide a wealth of information in 50 minutes. You can sign up for times throughout the day, but please sign up, come join us.
Yes.
It's going to be an awesome class, and you will be prepared to handle some of these situations.
We should point out, because I know there was some frustration at one of our other events, that you will not get certification at this one.
This is not, they offer lots of certification classes. Those are much longer and more intense.
Right.
This is a sampler. This will leave
It's like
you
an
feeling more
appetizer of
prepared.
things you can do.
Absolutely, but you will learn real stuff that's very useful.
And one thing that I learned at one of our events is that the hands-only CPR is, I don't want to use the word easy, right? It can be
It is
difficult,
easy.
but I guess it is easy, right?
It is easy. I mean, you are literally just pushing hard and fast in the
Right,
center of someone's
right.
chest.
And
I mean,
even
it's
that.
physical,
Right,
but it is.
that's what I meant, yes.
It is so easy to learn now.
And that could save somebody's life too.
Yeah.
Sarah, thank you so much. We're going to have you in the Nook more often. Welcome to the Nook.
Thanks. Happy to be here.